We're kind of walking through some battles in the Old Testament. And this one we all know about, but it's always fun to talk about it some more. And we're talking about the fall of Jericho. Yay. And we're in the fall, so it's a good time to talk about the fall of Jericho. So we're going to start off in Joshua chapter 6, and it's going to go from verse 1 to verse 27. Y'all want to tag along. And we're going to see how victory can come through being obedient to God, even if it seems like a weird strategy or unusual, goofy, something different. Has God ever told you to do something that you thought, well, that's crazy? Well, we're standing at the edge of the Jordan River. We've been wandering around for 40 years in a desert, learning lessons from God. Most of them the school of hard knocks kind of lessons. Learning from our own mistakes. Moses has died. Joshua, his executive secretary, has been put in charge. And he's now the first general of the IDF. Okay? And he has been told by everyone that they will follow him just like they did Moses. They'll listen to what he says to do. Well, when they cross the river, the first place they come to is a fortified, heavily walled city. Impenetrable. And they don't have the capability to defeat the city. It's impossible. It's not like the modern Roman army with siege engines and the multitude of people to build a ramp up the walls and to fight this thing the way a well-organized attacking army would do. Surround the place, cut them off, and just put them under siege, starve them out. And so by all human standards, it's impossible. But see, God wants Israel to learn it's not by your power, it's by walking in faith and being obedient to what I tell you to do. Even if the instructions are really weird, unusual. And it says in verse 1 of chapter 6, now Jericho was securely shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. They had all the doors closed and heavily fortified, tightly guarded. Now, when we were there, Meyer and I were there, we went to the city of Jericho. I've got a stone I picked up there at home. I've got a Jericho stone at home. And there had been an archaeological dig right there beside us. And it was down at least 30 feet, I'm guessing.
Wow.
And the guide pointed to the dirt down there at the bottom of that. He said, where that dirt is, the city was 10,000 years old.
Wow.
It was one of the oldest cities in the world.
Wow.
10,000 right there. When they were at that level, it was 10,000 years ago. So, no siege engines, no ladders, no military technology. Humanly speaking, this battle's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they're going to overcome this town. Those people are in there, they're ready, they're prepared, they knew the Israelites were coming. Surely they must have stocked up on supplies. They had their own army, but all they had to do was sit quietly behind their walls. You see, sometimes God puts obstacles in our path that we can't do anything about except through Him. We have Jerichos. We have things that are impossible except for God. Verse 2. And the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given Jericho into your hand. You've got it. I'm giving it to you. Don't worry about it. He's right up front. I've given Jericho into your hand, its king and its mighty men of valor, everything. You shall march around the city, all you men of war. You shall go around the city once. This year shall do for 6 days. Verse 4. And 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns, shofars, before the ark. But the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times. And the priests shall blow the trumpets. It shall come to pass when they make a long blast with a ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, that all the people shall shout with a great shout, then the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up every man straight before him. Wow. Is it really? Walk around it once a time for 6 days. On the 7th day, walk around 7 times with 7 priests, 7 trumpets, 7th day, 7. Why all these 7s? 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.
Yeah.
It's God's number of completion, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. And God just loaded it up with 7s. A little bit of a hint, you know. Verse 6, then Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant, let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, proceed and march around the city, and let him who is armed advance before the ark of the Lord. So we had the army, we had the ark, we had the priest. And God said, I've given it into your hands. So 7 times around on the last day, and shout, and the walls are gonna fall, and we're gonna walk right in. So obviously this was not gonna be done by any human's ability, right?
Right.
Do you think their shout would really bring the walls down? Walking around the city 7 times really bring the wall down? It's a matter of obedience.
Yeah.
You know, not logic. So, do you obey God's command sometimes when he gives you something that's like, really, God? You want me to do that? Verse 8, so it was when Joshua had spoken to the people that the 7 priests bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord advanced and blew the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. The armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark while the priests continued blowing the trumpets. Now Joshua had commanded the people, saying, you shall not shout or make any noise with your voice, nor shall a word proceed out of your mouth until the day I say to shout. So obviously there were no women in this group. Had to be. Now maybe on the last day, because it said, until the day I tell you to shout, then you shall shout. So he and the ark of the Lord circled the city, going around it once. Then they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. Verse 12, and Joshua arose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. Then 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of the Lord went on continually and blew the trumpets. And the armed men went before them, but the rear guard came after the ark while the priests continued blowing the trumpets. And the 2nd day, they marched around the city once and returned to the camp. So they did 6 days. But it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about dawning of the day and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner. On that day only they marched around the city 7 times, and the 7th time it happened, when the priest blew the trumpets, that Joshua said to the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And they obeyed the command. Day after day they marched in silence, trumpets blowing, but on the 7th day they got the command to shout, and the walls came down. See, they had to walk in faith and persevere and be obedient, even when nothing was happening. Those first 6 days, nothing happened. They just walked round and round. So, are we willing to do that? God tells us to walk round and round without seeing the results happen right away. Sometimes that's the way it has to be. Now in verse 17, continues, now the city shall be doomed by the Lord to destruction, it and all who are in it. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all who are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. And you by all means abstain from accursed things, lest you become accursed when you take of the accursed things and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessels of bronze and iron are consecrated to the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord. Go in and get all the silver, gold, and iron. Bring that to the camp. But everything else has got to be destroyed. Don't take any loot. Don't take any shalal. No spoil. Nothing.
No souvenirs.
No souvenirs. Nothing. Not this time. Don't touch it. Specific order. Verse 20. So the people shouted when the priest blew the trumpets, and it happened. When the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell flat. Those walls were real thick. 12, 15 feet. I don't know. They were. It wasn't just this little thin wall. Then the people went up the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both men and women, young and old, ox and sheep and donkey, with the edge of the sword. But Joshua said to the two men who had spied out the country, go into the harlot's house, and from there bring out the woman and all she has, as you swore to her. And the young men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab, her father, her mother, her brothers, and all she had. So they brought out all her relatives and left them outside the camp of Israel. But they burned the city and all that was in it with fire. Only the silver and gold and the vessels of bronze and iron they put in the treasury of the house of the Lord. And Joshua spared Rahab the harlot, her father's household, and all that she had. So she dwells in Israel to this day, because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent out to spy Jericho. See, this city was devoted to destruction, but Rahab was spared. See, she had faith. She believed in the God of Israel.
She had to have.
She acted out in faith and endangered her life, put her life on the line. Let's go back to that in Joshua 2. There's something to be, we're going to take a little side look here. We can't overlook Rahab. Joshua 2, verse 8 through 21. Now before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land. They already knew it.
Yeah.
They already knew it, that God had given them the city. It's coming out of her mouth. That the terror of you has fallen on us. Yeah, God said they're going to be in fear. And that the inhabitants of the land are faint-hearted because of you. They're weakened. They're useless. They've got no fight in them. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt. That was 40-some years ago. And they knew the story. And what you did to the two kings of the Amorites who were on the other side of Jordan, Sihon and Og. We talked about that, didn't we? Mm-hmm. She knew about that. Yeah. Whom you utterly destroyed. And as soon as we heard these things, our hearts melted. Neither did there remain any more courage in anyone because of you. For the Lord your God, He is God in heaven above. This pagan woman is proclaiming the glory of God. Since I have shown you kindness, that you also will show kindness to my father's house and give me a true token. And spare my father, my mother, my brothers, and my sisters, and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. So the man answered her, our lives for yours. If none of you tell this business of ours, and it shall be when the Lord has given us the land, that we will be kindly and truly with you. Then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the city wall. She dwelt on the wall, and she said to them, get to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you. Hide there 3 days until the pursuers have returned. Afterwards you may go your way. So not only she hid them, she told them how to evade the pursuers, exactly what to do. So the men said to her, we will be blameless of this oath of yours, which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land, you bind this line of scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, unless you bring your father, your mother, and your brothers, and all your father's household to your own home. So it shall be that whoever goes outside the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we will be guiltless. And whoever is with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head if a hand is laid on him. And if you tell this business of ours, then we'll be free from the oath which you made us swear. Then she said, according to your words, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed. And she bound the scarlet cord with them. And what did Joshua do when they went and attacked? He told them, go get her.
Mm-hmm.
He honored what she had done and made sure that she and her family were secure. That came out of Joshua's mouth. Go get them. And a scarlet cord was hung out the window. Something scarlet and red saved her. And this woman, this pagan woman who had faith in God, is in Jesus Christ's lineage. Can you believe that?
And that scarlet cord would represent
The blood of Jesus
blood
Christ
of Jesus, yeah.
saved her. Matthew 1:5. Salmon begat Boaz by Rahab. Rahab was Boaz's mama. Think about that.
That is so cool.
Not only she's Boaz's mama, Boaz begot Obed by Ruth. Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David. So, Rahab is his great grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? I'm thinking now. Back
Yep.
up.
Yeah, that's
Father, grandfather, great grandma.
right. Great grandma.
Is King David's great grandma. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. How did this woman, God was honoring her faith. Boaz's mama, great grandma to King David. Come on. That's just too cool. See, even when God is coming down with some judgment, he will show mercy to those who trust him. Is there someone in our lives that's unreachable? It seems like God is just, they don't know God. They're living a life totally away from God, and they seem like we can't reach them, but there's nothing you can say to them that'll bring them to God. All you gotta do is remember Rahab. If he can save her, he can save anyone. Have y'all seen anybody come into the Lord right at the last minute? Myra? You know anybody that came into the kingdom pretty much at the last minute? Yeah. Verse 26, chapter 6. Then Joshua charged them at that time, saying, cursed be the man before the Lord who rises up and builds this city Jericho. He shall lay its foundation with his firstborn, and with his youngest he shall set up its gates. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout all the country. Now we know this was when we did our prophecy series. Not only was Joshua the first general of the idea, he was also a prophet. because Joshua declared a curse over anyone who tried to rebuild Jericho. And in 1 Kings 16:34, somebody did, in the days of Hiel of Bethel, built Jericho. He laid his foundation with Abiram, his firstborn, and with his youngest son, Segub, he set up its gates according to the word of the Lord, which he had spoken to Joshua the son of Nun. They both died, just like Joshua said. And you know, when we went to Jericho, there was a city right there, right beside where this old city of Jericho was nothing but a big pile of dirt and rocks. In 2017, when we were there was still no city there on top of that.
Yeah.
On top of those ruins.
When they built later Jericho, they built it in a different location.
Yeah, it's off to the side. They didn't build right on top of the old city.
They'd learned by then, I guess, that it was cursed.
No telling who else might have tried to do it later on. It's not in the Bible. See, the victory belongs to God. And because of this battle, Israel's fame spreads, but the glory of the God, it's clearly the Lord's. The praise and honor goes to God. I mean, they didn't do anything, knock those walls down. And you know, once that story spread, the people were already afraid. And now they're saying, did you hear what happened? Those people marched around that wall, they blew trumpets and did silly stuff, but on the seventh day, they blew that trumpet and all the walls fell at once. You know, what are we going to do? Oh, well, let's dress up in old clothes, wore out clothes with moldy bread and go meet with them and see if we can try to fake them out, trick them, so we can come into agreement with them to keep from getting killed. And that's what one group did. They became servants, water bearers and wood haulers. And so when God gives you the victory, do you make sure you give him the glory? Or you try to suck up the glory yourself? Better not. You know, if you know God did it for you. Through this battle and through what happened, we should clearly learn that Jericho shows that God wins battles through faith and obedience and not our human power. We saw the sevenfold pattern. 7 days, 7 priests, 7 trumpets, 7 circuits. That's divine completeness and perfection. We see the connection between Rahab's cord and salvation through the shed blood of Jesus Christ, which gives and secures deliverance in the midst of judgment. We're all in the midst of judgment until we receive what Christ supplied for us, the salvation he supplied for us. We're all just as lost and undone as everybody was in Jericho, except for Rahab, without Jesus. So are there walls in front of you that seem impossible in your life, that you can't get around, climb over? Through this lesson, we should learn that we need to obey without any delay. And even if it seems strange what we're told to do, the victory lies in the obedience. I know right after Mary and I got married, even up before it, she did some goofy things. Let's go do this or let's go do that. Well, okay. And we go do it, and sure enough, something good would happen. It was sometimes it's like, really? You want to do that? Okay. And off we'd go. See, sometimes it takes a little while for the walls to fall. It doesn't happen all of a sudden. We have to persevere. Endeavor to persevere. And we thought about it and we declared war. That's from a movie. They told us, endeavor to persevere. But that's what we have to do. And we got to keep walking. You got to keep walking. I don't know how far around that city it was. I should look that up. What the distance was. How much was a lap? They got their morning constitutional every day. And then we have to trust in God's mercy, right? Know that He is merciful. There's a merciful side of God, and thank goodness there is. We trust Christ for salvation just the same way Rahab trusted God for her salvation. So why do you think God chose such an unusual strategy for Jericho? Anyone?
Yes.
What?
He was fulfilling his words when he told them that I am going before you. And you wouldn't think he would send out the priests, but that is the evidence therein, that they would be the ones representative that they could see.
That's a good point.
It is.
And the ark.
In the ark, yeah.
That God was going out before him, because they were playing on those people's minds to see that there was no way they could defeat. They were wanting to fight. They were ready to fight. There's no way you can fight God. But again, the Levites would go out first. And
It said the soldiers were in front and behind. Like you say, why the priests at all? Why not just march an
normally
army?
you wouldn't have priests.
Yeah. I mean, well, they're not fighters.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Point.
For me is how I take lessons from that. It says, Paul says, I forget where he says it in the New Testament, but he says we are all priests. So as Christians, when we go out and do battle, we're not just supposed to go out with spiritual warfare. We go out like priests. And instead of having Levites bear the ark on their shoulders, we take up our cross and follow Jesus, meaning we crucify our flesh. And I feel like that is a lesson there. It's not just, do you have your spiritual weapons? Are you armed? You're a priest. You're the priest. You're God's anointed. And you're also taking His presence with you, bearing that. And I feel like that's the lesson I get from that anyway.
What do you think about how Israel was told to be quiet? To be silent while they're marching. Don't say anything.
I agree with what you said at first. I don't want to admit that, but you were right.
What? No women in there?
Yeah.
I don't know. On the seventh
Well, you wouldn't
day,
send a woman out anyway to do that kind of detail.
Yeah, it
I
said
don't know.
warriors.
Yeah.
It said warriors, but on the seventh day, it said the people.
Yeah.
So maybe on the seventh day,
They included the
whole of them
women.
went.
Yeah. I was being facetious, of course, but
I know.
you know, you wouldn't put women in a military procession like that.
By being quiet, though, I guess they would be focusing on God.
It's a disciplinary kind of
Yeah.
message.
Be
If
still and know
everybody's
that I am
jabbering
God.
and talking, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
be
right.
exalted.
otherwise they're
That we
really
sometimes we got to
focusing.
wait on God and be quiet about it, not moaning and groaning. Where are you, God? Why aren't you doing anything?
Another thing too,
Huh?
sometimes God would use sound in these wars. He would use sound.
Yes.
Like with Gideon. And like the
Yeah.
sound in the marching in the mulberry trees. So the sound of them with no voice but only their marching must have been a huge rumble.
This,
like a thunder.
Yeah.
the sound of the
every
praise. When Jehoshaphat and the people went out and praised God,
Mhm.
and God just took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologically.
That would be more scary than
Now
hearing
think about the
voices.
people inside looking out. You
Yeah.
see these people walking by and they're not making a sound
Just
other than
all
their
you
feet
can
on
hear
the
is their
ground.
footsteps
Oh, that's even
And,
more
and why are they?
scary.
They're totally quiet.
for a week.
Yeah.
And
That's
why
a
didn't the
lot.
people inside the city ambush them? Why didn't they start shooting at them?
Shooting what?
Arrows?
They almost
Something.
Could it be
They
they thought
haven't
they
been
were crazy?
intimidated.
Maybe they're like, "What are they doing? That's
You know,
crazy."
They
why?
already said.
Obviously, well, it's
Their heart had
the
already
hearts were
fainted.
melted and they had no courage in them. That right there, that alone, the fact they marched around all that time and they weren't engaged militarily.
It was
Speaks-
almost a type of psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though they weren't
Good
aware of it, the
point.
guy
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Good.
These
point.
people just walk around. They're not attacking us. They're walking around the building. They're going to ring
Because-
around the rosy. What the heck is this?
Yeah, because they
You
could
know
have.
that had to throw them into confusion.
They could have launched their armies out of the gates and
Yeah.
attacked them.
Yeah.
So I see it as a type of psychological warfare.
Psyching them out.
Yeah, they were just intimidated.
So how does Rahab's salvation give us encouragement
It's interesting.
about God's mercy?
Interesting you mentioned that,
Yeah.
because when we were reading that where it said that she was not supposed to go out, that got me thinking back in Exodus 12 when God instituted the Passover. The night of the Passover, He told the people to put the blood on their door and to stay shut up in their houses. Do not go out into the street, and I will pass over you. He did that for His people, and then in Joshua 6, He did that for Rahab. And to me, and then that got me thinking even more, and I thought that's a pattern. That's a pattern we see that I've seen later, because in Acts 2, you have the 120 in the upper room. The Spirit falls on His people first. And then in Acts 10, when Peter goes to the house of Cornelius, the Spirit falls on Cornelius and the Gentiles. So you see God passing over
That's
His
a good
people in Egypt. You see God passing over Rahab, the Gentiles, in Jericho.
point. Oh,
And then you
that's
see the Spirit fall on His people, on Christians, on the Jews. Everybody that was in that room was a Jew. And then in Cornelius's house, the
Wow.
Spirit falls again on the Gentiles.
Yeah.
That's really good, Andrea.
Jew first.
It's a
and then
type
the
of shadow.
Gentiles.
It's a type and shadow, and I never thought of that before.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
That's a good revelation.
I never read either. That's good.
So what can we do, or how can we make sure that God gets the glory for our victories, not us? How do you position yourself spiritually and emotionally and mentally to make certain that you give God all the glory,
Stay humble.
regardless of what happens?
Stay humble.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to realize who we are and who God is. And that He gets 100% of glory, every last bit of it. Jesus gets it all. Because without Him, we're nothing. Okay, Myra, you want to take your turn? Or let me think, just one last thing. The walls of Jericho were too strong for the Israelites, but not for God. And the same is true for us. If we have a big battle, it's not too big for God. The battle's His, the glory belongs to Him. That's what you gotta do, is make sure that even if it looks impossible, it's not impossible for God. Okay.